This the book of Second Ezra, chapter 9 and verse 1. He answered me then and said, Measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs past which I have told thee before, then shalt thou well understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the worlds that he made. Barak Yahweh, Barak Yahweh, Barak Yahweh, Barak Yahweh, Barak Yahweh, Barak Yahweh, call Lord Yahweh, Yahweh, Basham, Yahweh, Basham, Yahweh, the waters to the apostles and the elders, great meal, song, rule well. May the grace out to the young brothers in the truth, and peace and blessing to the hopeful. Lord, will let's edify this another edition of Measured Out the Time Diligently. In this volume 64, and we're going to get straight into it. Lord, will let be edifying.
Chris, 9 people are dead here in New York City from last night's biblical rains and the flash floods they created.
In New York City alone, an entire month's worth of rain came down in just 2 hours.
We are moving into uncharted territory here with climate change. The climate that we've been living in is not going to be the climate that we are living in right now, nor over the next decades.
An intense rainstorm in Spain has led to severe flooding.
Streets were turned to torrents, with a powerful stream of water swallowing up cars, furniture and trees.
An intense rainstorm which swept everything in its path, including these cars and these outdoor chairs. The flash floods hit the Spanish town of Alcanar, located about 200 kilometers south of Barcelona, on Wednesday.
It's the latest in a series of major floods across Europe this summer, and scientists warn weather events will continue to become more extreme. The number of weather-related disasters has increased fivefold in the past 50 years. That's according to the World Meteorological Organization. On average,
Ooh, did y'all hear that? That bag, that back, that was heavy.
disasters has increased fivefold in the past 50 years. That's to become more extreme. The number of weather-related disasters has increased fivefold in the past 50 years. That's according to the World Meteorological.
The number of weather-related disasters have increased fivefold in the last 15 years. I gotta stop it there and get a precept. Precept. This the book of Isaiah chapter 29 in verse 6. Thou shalt be visited of the Lord of hosts with thunder and earthquake and great noise with storm and tempest and the flame of devouring fire. And let's jump over to the next chapter. This the book of Isaiah chapter 30 in verse 30. And it reads, And the Lord shall cause his glorious voice to be heard and shew the lightning down of his arm with the indignation of his anger and with flames of devouring fire, with scattering and tempest and hailstones. And going back from the last past 50 years, guess what? This word been going out for the last past 50 years, man. So the Lord's voice been causing his voice to be heard through what? Through his servants, the prophets, through through his chosen men, starting with Abba, you know, and the men that came up under him on down to our apostles and elders of great millstone who are still standing strong, pushing his word. Our apostle have been doing this for 35 years, man. 35 plus years. Yeah, I guess well yeah, something like that. Somewhere up in there. That's a long time, man. But this word have been going out since the 70s, man. Hold up. Let's see. Um it's it's 2021 going into 2022. Yep. Matter of fact, let's listen at that again. 50 years ago it was 1970. Oh man. 1960, 50 years ago, 1972, somewhere up in there. We gotta listen at that again. So the Lord, matter of fact, let me reread this. And the Lord shall cause his glorious voice to be heard, and shew the lightning down of his arm with the indignation of his anger, and with the flame of devouring fire, with scattering, and with tempest and hailstones. For though the voice of the Lord shall the Assyrian be beaten down with with smoke with the rod. And we know the modern day Assyrian is what? These damn Americans, man, these Edomites. It say in every place where the grounded staff shall pass, which the Lord shall lay upon him, and shall be with tabrets and harps, and in battles of shaking will he fight with it. But the point is, the Lord shall cause his glorious voice to be heard. And now let's get how the Lord is. Let's get this real quick. I could just so like yeah, I could have pulled it up quicker just by going to it, but I'm trying to take this the book of Luke chapter 1 and verse 70. As he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets. So like let's start at verse 68. This the book of Luke, chapter 1, verse 6 to 8. Blessed be the Lord God of Israel, for he have visited and redeemed his people, and that's what he getting ready to come to do, and have raised up a horn of salvation for the house of his servants, of his servant David. Yeah, that's Yahushua, who that horn whom he raised up, in the house of David, that's the elect, as he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world began. And the Lord speak through what? Through the prophets, man. You know, we try to find another one. This the book of Kings, chapter 22 and verse 21. And there came forth a spirit and stood before the Lord and said, nah, that ain't. It's one somewhere. This, this is potential. This Deuteronomy 18 and 18, and I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren, like unto thee, and I will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I shall command him. Yeah, so when the prophet raised up, they speaking the words of the Lord. It ain't this what we do week in, week out, day in, day out. It's not of us, man. You know, all the things that we do through the spirit power, Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh Shai, is of Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh Shai. We're speaking his words. We don't get together and come up with an elaborate plan on what we're going to say next, what video we're going to do next, what message we're going to bring forth next. It's all through the spirit of what's on each individual brother's spirit. And it's all of the Lord, man. You know, everything we do is of the Lord. This Hosea 6 and 5, it say, therefore have I hewed them by the prophets. I have slain them by the words of my mouth. The prophets bringing forth the words of the Lord's mouth. And thy judgments are as the light that goeth forth. Hey, the Lord ain't bullshitting with you people, man. The Lord ain't playing with nobody. Let's play that again.
Dream. The number of weather-related disasters has increased fivefold in the past 50 years. That's according to the World Meteorological Organization. On average, an event linked to weather, climate or water hazard has killed 115 people every day since 1970.
Ida has
Every day somebody died due to weather. Since 1970, when did this word start going at high power in the earth? Ultimately, it was in 2007. But how long has the word of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua been in the earth? The full truth, not the full truth, but the preaching of Yahushua, going back to 69, 70, man, through Abba Bivens, man. And guess what the Lord say? I'll visit thee through storm, swift tempest, earthquake, devouring fire, thunder. You know, that's how I'm gonna visit the earth. And what the Lord said, I gotta go back to that one precept. That's heavy. That's heavy, heavy. Let me find it. This the book of Isaiah, chapter 30 and verse 30. And the Lord shall cause his glorious voice to be heard, and shew and shall shew the lightning down of his arm with indignation of his anger, and with the flame of devouring fire, and with scattering and tempest and hailstone, man. You know, so hey, the glorious voice of the Lord has been being heard since 1969, 70, on down the nine. It's going out so high power now, ain't nobody got no excuse. You know, nobody has an excuse.
transformed streets into waterways, trapping some residents in the worst affected parts of Louisiana.
The astonishing and rapidly intensifying power of Hurricane Ida, which slammed into Louisiana just a few days ago, fueled by an unusually warm ocean. And on America's west coast, wildfires burn with increasing ferocity and frequency.
When fires get this hot, this intense, they're very hard to stop. And this fire is headed straight for a Californian beauty spot. Wow! Over the past few days, residents of South Lake Tahoe have looked on in horror as the Calder fire got closer and closer to their homes.
This is the worst I've seen it for 32 years.
Much of what happens now depends on wind direction and fire intensity. A state of emergency has been announced here. If the area were to be engulfed, it would represent some of the most large-scale destruction from US forest fires in modern times.
With the death toll still rising in New Orleans after Hurricane Ida struck with its full force on Sunday, and 50,000 people evacuated from parts of Northern California because of a massive forest fire this week, America is feeling the full wrath of extreme climate-related events.
I've lived in New York for 40 some odd years, and obviously things are changing. So, and I love South Lake Tahoe, and we're seeing that burn down right now too. So the whole West is in big trouble with. Wouldn't it be great if we could take all this rain and put it into California, for crying out loud, right?
It all points to one thing, says President Biden.
Past few days of Hurricane Ida and the wildfires in the West and
The heart. That's what it points to. Points to the heart and goddamn direct energy technology. That's what it all points to. Goddamn fucking climate change. It points to the heart, direct energy technology, and what they call a geoforming or some shit like that. Esau manipulating the weather, man. This nigga is the devil. But guess what the Lord say? Well, what King David said, the Lord ain't say it. The King David said, "Deliver me, O Lord, from the wicked, which is thy sword, man." The sword is causing havoc in the earth. You know, you see Uncle E on the screen, man. You know, Uncle E and them, they doing this through the spirit and power, through the spirits of demon Satan, which get his power from Yahweh Shem Yahweh. So the Lord is doing this at the end of the day.
Precedent of flash floods in New York and New Jersey is yet another reminder that these extreme storms and the climate crisis are here.
A crisis on multiple fronts.
As the tail end of what was Hurricane Ida dumped record-breaking rainfall.
Oh my God. Oh my God. People stuck.
The National Weather Service declared the city's first ever flash flood emergency. Many could hardly believe what they were seeing.
For the first time in recorded history, the National Weather Service issuing a flash flood emergency for all 5 boroughs of New York City. More than 7 inches of rain in just a few hours.
After unprecedented storms left at least 50 people dead.
Look at that tornado!
The warnings had been there. The storm was coming. But there was little that could be done to protect from Ida's wrath. New Jersey is not tornado territory.
It seems now to be so devastatingly regular, yet more extreme weather. Multiple states of emergency declared, records broken again.
Turning major roads into rivers and stranding cars and lorries.
It is a similar story in Philadelphia, with water as far as the eye can see, engulfing communities.
But it wasn't just the volume of water, it was the speed it came. Highways overwhelmed in minutes. And the railways too. This was the New York City subway, flooding on a level which left people stunned.
In Germany and Belgium earlier this summer, torrential rain saw towns and villages rapidly flooded, sweeping away lives and homes in seconds.
The United Nations estimates that drought brought on by the
Damn house on fire. House on fire as goddamn is flooded. Ain't that about it? But I'm gonna go ahead and let it play through and close it out. My phone finna die. I mean, not my phone. Your phone. So let me play it.
effects of climate change could displace as many as 700 million people by the end of this decade. This is no more acutely being felt than in southern Madagascar, where years of failed rains has left hundreds of thousands of people staring down the barrel of what the UN is calling the world's first climate change famine.
The World Food Programme says that in an area where people depend on their own agriculture to survive, the land is 7 times more barren than it was even a year ago.
Absolutely. This is certainly something that has grown over the last number of years. If you look in this particular list at the three of the biggest storms, they all occurred in 2017, just a few years ago, including Hurricane Harvey, Irma and Maria. And those storms together accounted for more than 35% of the worst economic damage done by all these storms.
Y'all see that American flag? Hey, those are these signs are from y'all about to me outside. This bitch is over with, man. These motherfuckers is through. So with that, Lord willing, this will edifying. I want to end giving all honor and glory to Yahweh by Hashem, Yahweh Shai by Hashem, Kakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders, great millstone rule, web, and great example to the young brothers in truth. Peace and blessings to the whole elect. Shalom, Kwam Yashala, Abba, Shalom.